Hi, welcome to Light for Life. Hi, I'm Andrea, sensible lady. I'm and CEO of Declutter's Delight for Life. I put the sensible in sensible and help you declutter the clutter in your life. I know for myself today, as a lot of things we talk about, as I talked about how to declutter and organize yourself last night, part one, and tonight's part two. I'm going to kind of, bring my own story into things to help, maybe clarify things about organization and sometimes dealing with, the past itself. And so much of the time when we try to declutter and organize ourselves, sometimes we are weighed down by the past, but we're not even realizing it. I know for myself, I'm in the midst of trying to refinance my home, and there are things I found, that I had to deal with and take care of, which had been sitting around for 15 years out of a home I had lived in for 31 years, which I took care of today. And originally I was going to have to pay a lot of money, but because of the way I'm able to handle things with people now, I didn't have to do that. And I was able to. And, you know, I find that you don't run from things because I used to run from things all the time because I was scared. Had fear. There's an old saying, fear is false evidence appearing as real. And I always keep reminding me of that. And there's a lot of things I'm facing this week that are difficult. And but even getting out of the house today was difficult for me because I've been inside the house with the flu for quite some time. Probably about 3 weeks. And and but the thing about it is because I was willing to face my fears and deal with the issues and find this out, I'm clearing the pathway to a better life for myself and a better life to be able to help you guys. Because for me, life itself is rather cluttery, and I have lived a cluttery life, and that's truly, to be honest. Today I had some wonderful mommy time with my beagle man. I had a wonderful time with my significant other, which was wonderful. And when you think of all these beautiful things out there about life itself, that we have to really think, life, how important life is to us. And I know for me that I really enjoy life. And when I let go and deal with these things, it's like my soul soars, like on the wings of an eagle. And you're able to let go and just, you're able to think clearly, and when you're able to think clearly, you're able to get a lot more done. You know, and thinking about my story today, I woke up, I was scared, you know, I had to be held. I felt, and but when you have people who love you and care about you, and you have those wonderful relationships with people, and you build those relationships around you, you are dealing with things because those relationships give you so much. They help you declutter and they help you organize your life and give you a life that you've never had before. I know for myself that, you know, if I listen to, what I believe in that is higher than myself, that it helps my soul. It helps me build better relationships with people. And the whole thing is, you know, relationships with people are so important because they enrich our lives and gives us hope and peace and love that deep down in our soul. Or even relationships when you deal with people, out in the public and how they react to you. In fact, the way I reacted and dealt with the people today, they just reactivated an old permit. And last time I was told I was going to have to pay a couple $1,000s. Today it was just a few hundred. But it was the way I handled folks. Those relationships with folks. You can build relationships with businesses, relationships with, you know, social, or relationships with them. Because for a lot of us, relationships can rather be cluttery and disorganized. But if you look at your soul and realize that when it comes down to it, it comes down to kindness, it comes down to compassion, it comes down to hope, and it comes down to peace. Because when you keep those in mind and you work with people and you're able to do it, you can get a lot more done with folks. And believe me, folks treat you a whole lot differently, make it much simpler. I mean, another point to be organized and to have a less cluttery life is learn to live in the moment. So many times we're living so much in the past, we're living so much in the future. That doesn't mean we plan. I'm a big fan anymore of planning. I'm a fan of planning, a roadmap of knowing where to go. But at the same time, if we remember about living in the moment, you know, think about it. We only have the moment that we're in right now. The moment, yes, that's all we have. And I look at my doggies and her beagle look. She, you know, they're only here for like 15, 16 years and then they're gone. But the joy they bring, and dogs just, that's all they do is live in the moment. And we are so much sometimes living in the past as future tripping, or past tripping, that we forget that the moment is what's most important. And what's so nice about living in the moment? We have a lot more joy in our lives. And joy, think about it. Think about the joy in your heart. Yes, to me, the heart is so important. We forget about the heart. The heart is our gut. The heart is, who we are, our character, our feelings. And a lot of times we live in our head, but living in our head is rather cluttery. It's rather disorganized, and a lot of times our head is wrong most of the time. But if we listen to our gut, then it's usually right most of the time. I've usually found that if I listen to my gut, I used to be one that always lived in their head. Believe me, you know, a few years ago, that's where I was. Lived at the time. But there I, able to, have heart. I know for me, I love stuffed animals, and they give me warmth. And I may be 54. I'm going to be 55 this year. This guy's a little cute, and kind of my beagle. When I couldn't have my beagle around, I bring him along, and he has a name. Let's see, what's his name? Let's see. His name is Yodel. I like Yodel. When my boyfriend was going through cancer treatment, I gave Yodel to him at the hospital. But Yodel, gave comfort. comfort is important too to a life that has balance in it, because when we comfort other folks and think outside of our own selves, we are much more human. We're much more loving and compassionate, and I love more helping other folks. I love helping you every day. It gives me more purpose. And purpose is definitely less cluttery and more organized. When you have purpose, you have direction in your life. You know where you're going. And even if you don't have a daily planner or anything, but if you have a purpose statement, then you really know where you're going. And then I guess one of the biggest things, I think about, I take medications, and I decluttered a lot of supplements and a lot of things that were bugging my stomach, and all sorts of things, and simplified all that. And as a result, because of dealing with the flu, I had to do that. And actually, I feel so much better about not having all that in my system, that my stomach feels better. I used to dread doing medication. Simple process. Many of us have things going on in our lives that we really don't like doing, but because we've complicated them and added a whole bunch of stuff around it, instead of what's really important at the core, that if we declutter the excess. Excuse me, my nose is running a little bit. That at that core, and if we trim things back to that core, then we're able to really able to simplify things and able to do so much more. And I think about that. If we're at that core, then whatever we have to do with that, whether it be at work or home or family or church or anything, on doing that, then that's so much cluttery and organized that we don't dread doing it so much. And it's such a much more positive experience. And I can tell you from experience lately of having done that with my medications, that it's a no brainer process now. And and I think about I know it's going to sound funny, but I'm actually kind of glad I got sick, because it made me realize about really taking care of oneself. Self-care. I mentioned that last time about self-care. So to take time out for yourself, and whether you do meditation or journaling, or writing a positive statement every day, which I like to do. And when you write those kind of things out there, that you are just really you making a difference in your life. And that self-care that you do every day, for a few minutes, a half an hour or an hour every day, that it opens up your day and has something much more positive. For me, actually, physically, I some I listen to, I stop the ringing, or if I even other times I do. And as a result, I'm able to handle something that they said I'd require something, medically, but I don't need it medically, because I have found a way to handle it. And that's definitely less cluttery and more organized. And I don't have to require more medical intervention. So I think about all these things, about the clutter and being more organized, and my life is self. And I don't know. Tonight, it's such a wonderful feeling that I think too, sometimes we do it with anger. We all sometimes have anger at different things at different times in our life. And believe me, I've dealt with lots of anger in my life, and even recently having anger issues that I never realized I had because of all the trauma I've dealt with in life. But I'm learning, and we can all learn about learning to take anger or sometimes madness, some folks have, and people do all sorts of strange in anger, that are seem illogical and end up in prison where I used to work or any number of things. But if we think about it, I have a joke now that, if something is making me real angry inside or internally, I take my anger and I say, I'm going to go sit you off in a corner and put a dunce cap on you. It's kind of a funny, but it makes me realize that, that's what it is, and I put it in perspective. And it's really important that we do that, is put it in perspective. And I'd like to leave you with some good things to think about for tonight. Is that, to organize and declutter yourself, first, one, have self care, take care of yourself. Two, love yourself, just as you are. And three, yourself. And with that, I wish you great Declutter's Delight for life. Have hope, have peace and tranquility, and love and compassion, and let there be a light in your eyes. And I love you all, and blessings.